Hi everyone, it's Danny. Welcome back to another layout for the Cocoa Vanilla Studio design team. Today I'm going to be digging into the brand new Daydream collection and I am so excited to be sharing this layout with you. I'm so happy with it. It was so much fun to make and this new collection is just incredible and so beautiful that I'm just having so much fun playing with it. So today I am starting out with this pattern paper which is called Daisy Days. So the other side is that light blue daisy print, but this side is this gorgeous floral wreath. And there are so many papers in this collection that I was super excited to get fussy cutting, and this is one of them. So this is going to be the first layout that I share with you guys using this new collection. So I went ahead and fussy cut that whole wreath out of that paper, and now I'm going ahead and cutting out all the center. So I used my little fussy cutting scissors to cut out the outside, but I do find that it's a bit easier to cut the middle of the wreath out with a craft knife, just because all that paper's in the way and it's a bit hard to get your scissors in there. So just be careful if you are doing this. You'll notice I'm keeping my other hand right out of the way, and I'm rotating the paper a lot, and I tend to just cut in the same direction. So the way that is easiest for me, the way that I'm not going to, if I slip and cut too far, I'm not going to cut my other hand. So that's just something to keep in mind if you are going to use a craft knife like this. Just keep safety first. So I did go ahead and cut out as many of the little inside pieces as I possibly could as well. And I'm not going to lie, this was very time consuming. Actually, probably not as time consuming as I expected it to be. I just popped on a YouTube playlist and went through watching all my scrappy YouTube videos while I went ahead and fussy cut all this out. So it just looks so much better when you cut out all these little interior pieces. It really brings the cut files to life and makes it look super three-dimensional. And I'm going to use mixed media as well, so all those little spaces and gaps inside the wreath really help you to be able to see that mixed media through the gaps. So I knew I wanted to fill out that wreath a little bit more with some more foliage. So what I'm doing is I'm taking this is my Big Shot die cutting machine. It's a manual die cutter, and I am just running some of the pattern papers from this collection through just a couple of different shapes of these leaves. So I do use that navy paper, which is called Up in the Clouds, but I'm using the 6x8 version, not the 12x12 version, just to cut out some of these leaves. And you'll see up in the top right there, I have a little stack of lighter blue leaves that I cut out of the garden variety paper, which is that kind of mid-tone blue with the polka dots. So you'll see in a minute. I actually cut those ones out on my silhouette, on my cameo. So these ones I'm just using my manual die cutting machine, because I had decided after I'd cut all those other ones out in my cameo that I wanted some navy, and I really didn't want to go back in and design anything in my silhouette studio. So I just used my manual die cutter and it works just fine. So now you can see I have that garden variety paper again, and I have quite a bit left of it, so I want to use this to put a border on my page because the mixed media cardstock I use is just slightly smaller than a 12x12. So if I'm going to use that, I need to put a border on, and this already has, all that part used up, so may as well finish it up. I've just gutted out that section that I haven't used because I don't want to waste that sticking it behind paper where you're not going to see it when I can use it to matte photos with or to back a cut file with. So I've just cut that section out and put it aside, and now I am popping my cardstock on the top of this border just like that. Now I am going to come in with my mixed media. This is always so much fun, and I'm just going to be using a combination of distress oxide mist and a watered down acrylic paint with the good old packaging technique. Nothing fancy, doesn't require a lot of skill, I don't believe, not in my opinion anyway. So I want to make a color similar to that flower that is on the right, that kind of reddish purple. So using good old color theory, I know if I mix my magenta and that dusty rose with a little bit of yellow, I can get that color pretty much perfectly. So this mixed up really easily, and then I'm just going to add some water just to make it smushable. Very technical term there. Just making it liquid enough that it will spread nicely on the cardstock when I apply it. So I just have a little bit of packaging here. I believe this is actually from the ephemera. So that is the good thing about all the packaging that you get with your bits and pieces. You can cut it up and use it in your mixed media. So I'm just going ahead and scribbling that onto the packaging with my paintbrush and then smushing it down. And it does drip and run like there. That went where I really didn't want it to go, but I just sort of go with it. I just embrace the imperfections and try not to worry too much about it not turning out exactly how I wanted, because this kind of mixed media doesn't really it's really hard to control. It's hard to make it do exactly what you want. So I think if you just embrace it, it's not going to be perfect. It saves you stressing too much about it, and no one notices all those imperfections in the end, I can promise you. So there you go. I dripped a bit where I didn't mean to. So I've just gone in with my paintbrush and kind of made it look more deliberate. So I just turned it into more of a drop than a spill. So this is just the Distress Oxide in Spun Sugar, and again just packaging and then splatters. And then I'll come in with the Speckled Egg as well, which is the blue. It's the light blue, the newer colour. So again, just smushing, trying not to worry about making it perfect, and doing some splatters as well. Just trying to make it look somewhat random in my colour placement. And this is the Distress Oxide in Chipped Sapphire, just in the ink pad. So I'm just smushed it onto my mixed media mat and then added some water to make it splatterable, another very technical term. And I'm just doing some little splatters with this because it is that darker navy colour. So I am going to use some of that navy in the leaves. So I just wanted to add a bit more. This is some white acrylic ink. You don't really see this in the end, so I'm not going to spend too long making you watch me do that. Alright, so that is all done and dried. I will come in actually in a minute and do some more to it, but we'll get there when that happens. So for now, I'm just going to add some dimension to my wreath, some more dimension. So I'm taking some single-sided adhesive craft foam and cutting up all these teeny tiny little squares, which are a real pain to peel the paper off. So I recommend using a pair of scissors if you're going to do this. But I've literally just gone through with my wreath and I bent all the edges up. So kept it flat in the center, but bent all the outer and inner edges up. And then I'm going to add some of these little foam squares all the way around, just on the outside. So this will add lots of nice dimension once I glue my wreath down. So I'm just going to speed through this very quickly. There we go. So this is what I am going to do with my mixed media. It was a little bit too bold. The colours were a bit too overpowering. They were taking over the layout a little bit. So I've just taken some white acrylic paint and a makeup sponge and just sponged that over the top. And you can see it's just really toned down all those colours, made them a lot more subtle so that they're not so overbearing. So now I'm happy with that. I'm going through with some tacky glue. This is just a white liquid glue, and adding a strip of it all the way around my wreath, just in the center. So I'm just gluing down all the center of the wreath and leaving all the edges to pop up, especially with all that foam added. That's going to be lots of beautiful dimension and texture and look really three-dimensional. Okay. Coming in with my photos now. These are all photos from my daughter's first birthday that I am still have yet to scrap. So I just want a couple. I'm trying to pick two that the colours match the layout nicely and that relate to each other. So these are both of my beautiful little daughter with a couple of our different family members having cuddles. She's asleep there. Oh, she's so sweet. So I'm just going to trim those down so that they are the same size. I'll just speed through this very quickly. So this is going to be a layout about her, of course. So I do end up tucking these just off to the right-hand side of the wreath there. And I haven't glued those down yet. I'll come back to those in a minute. I just want to fill out my wreath now before I go any further with those photos. I'm going to take all my little bits of cutout foliage and tuck those in just in and around the wreath where there are gaps. And I'm trying to do like that, where I kind of layer them in with the original wreath so that they don't look like they're just kind of stuck on. They're sort of intertwined with the leaves on the original wreath. And some of these I actually flipped over because the other side was that really pretty floral print, and I really like the contrast, how it was a little bit lighter and softer than the blue, which is reading almost as a solid on these little die cuts. And then I'm just going to add my little navy bits and pieces around, just filling in all those gaps again. And I'm just adding glue to the stems of the leaves so that the ends stick up and are all nice and fluffy and textural. So now moving on to my photos, I am just going to add a white border. Go. I'll skip ahead in a minute, and then I will add a matte to, I think maybe just one of the photos using these are the leftovers from the fussy cut wreath. So this is the other side, the daisy side. So I'm just going to piece those together. Waste not, want not. I hate wasting the pattern papers, especially these beautiful cocoa vanilla papers. So I try to use every little scrap that I possibly can. So there we go, that is matted. Yeah, I just matted that top photo. Now I'm going to add my title from the die cut title pack. I picked out these words, lovely you. I love the font in these, they're so pretty. And I found these 3 little moths in the die cut ephemera, and I am just going to do my favorite thing that I'd like to do with butterflies, which is bend up the wings and then add some foam behind each of the wings. Add some glue just to the center of the body and stick them down that way. And that way they just look like they're about to take flight. They look really lifelike and super pretty. Now coming in with some of the accessory stickers, just a few. I'm adding that floral cluster just there. It was a bit of an awkward space above my title there, so I like that. Plus a little tab that says so sweet. And I'll just quickly glue down my title before I add these tiny word stickers. I love using these as a kind of subtitle to my main title. And again, that's just a bit of an awkward spot just below my title there, so these fill in that space perfectly. I'm just going to tuck it nicely underneath there, so that says my sunshine and love. And then I'm just adding these little flowers. These are just they're part of the wreath pattern paper. They were just not connected to the main wreath, so I've cut them out individually and glued them down. And the very last thing I'm going to add is some of the sequins. So I'm going to pop in some of the beautiful iridescent leaves, just scattering them around in amongst the wreath. And then I will just go in with all the round sequins, a whole bunch of them, and just sprinkle them all the way around, outside and inside of the wreath where there are gaps. And I'm just adding some lovely sparkly details with those. I am absolutely adoring this sequin pack. It comes with a set of paper flowers, and it is as far as I'm aware, it is a new product. I haven't seen these in any of their previous collections. I could be wrong, but I'm sure it's a brand new product, and I'm having so much fun using them. I've used so many already that I am almost going to need to buy a new packet. That tells you how much I love them. But anyway, that is my layout finished. Thank you so much for joining me. Close-ups are coming up. Don't forget to check the description box for the link to the Cocoa Vanilla Studio blog and the Facebook group, and I'll see you next time. Bye guys!